Hello, world. Welcome to our very first Maritime Law podcast. I am Sharon, and I just wanted to thank you so much for your support, your words of motivation, which we've received through various social media platforms. Your support has just been so warming. We are excited about this project, and finally, we are recording today and hope that through your participation, we will be able to achieve the overall objective of this project. Now, without any waste of time, get on board and tune in. We have something exciting for you guys, so we will kickstart today's podcast with a maritime term of the day. And this will be a practice which we will uphold in our next coming episodes. Today's term is TEU, which stands for 20-foot equivalent unit, which in simple terms means an average size of a container and is normally used to describe the capacity of a container ship. In simple mathematics, TEUs are calculated or rather measured as 6.1 meters long times 2.44 meters wide. Now, as already indicated on our social media platforms, myself and Professor Portia Ndlovu decided to partner up together in this project for reasons which we will get into shortly after welcoming the professor. Professor, how are you doing?
Hello, Sharon. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am okay, thank you so much. Other than the time differences between South Africa and the USA, I'm okay.
Excellent.
Professor, I just wanted to personally thank you so much before we start with today's podcast, for being willing to partner up with me on this journey and for sharing your expertise with me and being willing to share the same expertise with our listeners. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much, Sharon. It's an honor for me to serve in this way, and I want to see it as an opportunity to give back because I'm also here because of other people that gave me their time. So I'm very glad and honored to be helping in this way.
Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your help, and I trust that the listeners will also be happy to learn from a woman of your stature. Thank you so much. And without any waste of time, I think it's fitting that we just get right into it. Today, we are going to particularly detail out the objective of the Maritime Law Podcast. Why are we doing this? And what do we hope to achieve from it? And not only us, but what will our listeners be getting from this podcast? Because we are not doing this for ourselves. This is also to benefit the listener. Do you, by any chance, want to give us a brief explanation, if I were to say it like that, as to why we are doing this?
Yes, absolutely, Sharon. First of all, we are not wanting this to be about ourselves. We don't
Yeah.
want all the focus to be on us because we are also here to learn. Because being a student is a lifetime thing that we all have to do, and so we just wanted to create a platform, as we've been discussing all this time, Sharon, where people can have a mentorship platform, a networking platform, a scholarships, connections, and basically as lawyers to comment on the maritime law and measure and compare and do case studies about whether the laws that we are seeing today are actually achieving the justice that law is supposed to uphold within the industry.
Yes.
And yes, and actually allow people to see how they can work within regulation to also bring their own skills. We want people to also come with their solutions, because we live in a time where we have to be extremely creative about solutions. And there's a lot of intelligence out there. So we want to invite that intelligence and in a positive way, so that people will know to use their intelligence in a positive way to build other people up. Because even though we are separate and minding our own business in one sense, on the other sense, what we do affects everybody else. So we have to have a way of, coordinating our strengths so that we can work together. So this is one of those platforms.
Thank you so much. Professor, you mentioned creating a mentorship platform, and you also mentioned scholarships. For the benefit of a listener who's wondering, how can I participate in this mentorship platform? How can I get access to the scholarship details? Do you, by any chance, want to elaborate on that?
Okay, that's a really great question, Sharon. First of all, I'm trying to do what I wish had been done for me 20, 21 years ago when I first embarked on this journey.
Yes.
I didn't have too many people that I could ask about the maritime law industry, or the maritime law industry itself. And that's why I decided to go back to school and study even harder, so that I could have even more knowledge, because I realized that there's a whole wealth of knowledge out there
Yes.
that is in front of me, but hidden also at the same time. So I feel that a platform like this, a podcast, is easily accessible. You just put it on you put on your earphones, you put on Spotify, and you listen to people who have walked the journey, and maybe you can gain something out of their pages. Maybe it's how they pursued the career. Maybe it's a biography. Maybe it's something that we will say that will spark something inside of them. And I know, Sharon, you like to call me Professor, even though I insist that you call me Portia. Because believe it or not, I'm here to learn from you as well. People, students are as much teachers as the people that's teaching them. So this is an opportunity to do that exchange. So practically, it means that you'll have something to listen to that will guide you. And,
Yes.
and secondly, practically, it means that whatever context, schools, bursaries, scholarship programs, we will link their details on our platform, so that if they have scholarships, if they have bursaries, you can know about those things, and you can know about the people that are advertising opportunities within the maritime space. And also, because this is a non-profit effort, we will be getting some people who want to sponsor what we do. So we will take those sponsorship or any kind of assistance that we get and actually give it to those audited, approved organizations that help people within the maritime space. So that's the practical side of what we mean by mentorship, networking, sponsorship, and scholarship.
Absolutely, that's gorgeous. And Professor, would you then say what we are trying to do will effectively deal with the issue of sea blindness? I
Yes,
have, sorry to
yes.
interject, but I was just asking, would you think it's going to effectively deal with the issue of sea blindness, which I've experienced amongst my peers, family members, and friends around the community. And when I say I'm doing maritime law, and they're like, "But what is that?"
Exactly, Sharon. You tell me really funny stories about that, and I went through that myself. I remember just when the professor walked into the class and he was talking about maritime admiralty, and I'm like, what does the Navy, the UK Navy, have to do with what? And now I know, but it took for someone to actually break it down for me to understand. And you talk about sea blindness, and it's because, well, at least according to an author that I really respect. Her name is Rose George. She wrote a book called 90% of Everything, where she says that the shipping industry has become so efficient out there in the ocean in moving commodities and products around the world that we don't see that side of it. We just see the products that arrive where we need them in our warehouses or in our stores. But there's a whole quiet industry that's doing that. So she says sea blindness is basically knowing that there's ships, there's an ocean out there, but you don't really focus on it. And I think that we want to address that because we want people to know that even according to the United Nations rule, all people have an inheritance in the ocean and all
Oh,
people have an inheritance in nature. So we hope that through this platform, people can say, okay, what can I contribute? Even if you feel like, oh, I'm a young person, what do I know? Don't feel that way. Um, tell yourself that there is always a solution that you could provide, a business opportunity, a plan, a thought. And
yeah,
maybe this industry is what will give you the opportunity to create bread for yourself and for your community,
absolutely.
for your family. Yes, if you know about it. So it's hard to dream about something you don't even know about. So at least when we deal with sea blindness, you'll see that there's opportunities on land, but there's also opportunities at sea.
That's absolutely true. You touched on something that's very important, particularly about the ocean. And I think you were quoting from Rose George's book about um, the opportunities that are in the maritime space that people can make bread for themselves. You know, you said that 90% of trade is seaborne, and you spoke about how we move one goods from a certain state to the other and from a warehouse all the way to your doorsteps. And all of that chain, there are economic opportunities there that a lot of people can look into, a lot of business opportunities, a lot of career opportunities. And
Mhm.
and I think our communities aren't exposed to that. And that is the whole, it speaks to the whole issue of sea blindness, and which I would take it a step further, that we are not just sea blind, but we are also blinded to the economic opportunity that comes with the ocean.
Yes, which is unfortunate for people who live in an area where they are surrounded by water, sea spaces, the ocean.
Yes.
That should be fixed. At the same time, there are those who are extremely well versed in the industry by culture. You know,
Yeah.
if you look at, for example, the Greek community. And the location, and historically so many nations have built their wealth and their name on the oceans. So there's two sides. There's those who were very well versed, and those who are who have the ocean in front of them, but they don't know how to really take advantage of the opportunities. And we are trying to, in this platform, kind of acknowledge everybody and say it doesn't matter what nationality you are. Our common heritage on the ocean does not discriminate. Even if you live in a landlocked area, you could be actually the person that's going to be the next contributing industry. Not
Amen.
that yeah, we don't want, we're not, it's not that we are creating this wild run as if there's like gold inside the ocean, but we want to say there are so many aspects where people can actually support. And as we go on with these podcasts, Sharon, we are going to be sharing some of the sectors that people can actually participate in. I mean, there are so many. And then the financial markets also help this industry very much because it's very capital intensive. So we're going to talk about all those things at some point, and then people can say, oh, I didn't know that, now I do. I'm a
Yeah.
better person, I'm a better person for it. And maybe they can share that with someone who has the capital, and maybe they can do something about their dream. One of the things that I love about this industry is that it's very safety oriented and very solutions based, because if you're going to survive on the ocean, you have to be very smart. So there's this push for excellence, push for safety, so that the people who are working on the ocean can survive, and that these contracts that are entered into are successful, and that disaster doesn't come on people on an already inherently risky environment, which is the water. And so I love that about the industry, because it makes us seek for even more intelligent, easier, and more right ways of doing things.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor. And I just wanted to add that through this platform, we hope to engage more and not make this about us, but engage and also have other people on our platform who will speak to their respective areas of specialization within the industry and perhaps also share information that will further advance the objective of this project.
Yes, absolutely, Sharon. I couldn't agree more. I have always taught in partnership with industry. Anyone who knows me knows that I've always made my classrooms open to industry, because this is not something you achieve alone. You need to bring in those who have specializations in certain areas. I mean, if you think about information technology and the fact that we in the shipping industry, we've been talking about driverless ships or autonomous ships for some time now. And it looks like COVID-19 is forcing us to actually start thinking about that kind of environment. On the other hand, we need to be very sensitive to the industry itself and the needs of the industry. And through this podcast, Sharon, we hope that people will feel seen and acknowledged. So within the
Yeah.
industry, so that high executive who has to deal with a different style of business within the new normal, and plus that seafarer who may be struggling with repatriation because of COVID-19, we want all these people to feel seen and to have somewhere or a podcast they can listen to and feel like they can relate. And then we want everyone else who feels they want to know more about the industry to come in and learn something new that could hopefully help them in future, or just give them a better sense of knowledge about the world and the world that they live in. I was just reading an article by the president of the Philippines, President Duterte, and he was saying that he's so concerned about the compliance rules lately that they are actually not working in the greatest favor for seafarers. And we know that the Philippines is has a huge population of seafarers out there in the waters.
Yes.
So we want them to know that there's someone out there somewhere in the world who cares about things like that and the rules. And we want to make sure that even the rule, if we say we're maritime lawyers, let's even talk about those issues that maybe haven't been tackled, about what's fair and what's not fair when it comes to compliance within the industry, and then see if
Yeah.
justice is being achieved.
Absolutely gorgeous. So I guess I'm correct in saying what we are trying to achieve is just to create an all-inclusive educational platform where everyone who's interested in the maritime industry will have an opportunity to be exposed to um, concepts, terms, and practices within the industry, and so that they can build knowledge and also have guidance in terms of where to go if they want to achieve a certain um, dream within the maritime space.
Absolutely. And Sharon, people must know that they can put their own face to the industry if they wanted to, just like we put our own hearts and faces and dedication to the industry. And maybe one day you and I will share with our listeners how we ended up in this industry, and that could be a story as well, listening to the backstories of people. And even with our guests, we'll invite them and ask them to share not just the formalistic academic stuff, but also they could share their personal stories. And you will see that
Yes,
some people have survived economic crises, recessions. They've even had to sell everything just to keep their shipping companies running. And we need to know about that, and see
yes,
how it works. And then we need to see how some long-term successful companies, what they have done to be so successful, and the fact that there's an the industry has its own culture, its own language, and so yeah, so hopefully all of those things will be very beneficial to our listeners.
I trust that everything that we have spoken about today will prove to be beneficial to our listeners. I believe that we have captured the very essence of the objective of this project. Before we conclude, is there anything that you would want to say
Of course, Sharon.
to our listeners?
Of course, I would like to add that if our listeners would like to be greeted in their own language, please can they send us greetings from different places. We know for the most part, the maritime industry language that unites the whole world is usually English, but because the
Yes.
maritime law is exportable and it's law for everyone, I always say that maritime law, you can't like really keep it in within your borders, because your ship could be anywhere else, and so that the laws could become exportable as a result. So we find the maritime space to be very international, so we want our listeners to tell us how to greet them in different languages. Sharon and I will work so hard on it so that we can greet properly. uh, and also, we want to say, if listeners want to ask certain topics, if they want to talk about certain topics, some topics people don't really feel comfortable discussing, but we are not afraid to discuss them, because we feel like we are well equipped, we understand the rules and regulations, and we respect everyone, and we respect the law. So we are not afraid to tackle some of those untackled or scary topics. So I mean, within reason, of course. And so we are open to that. There's so many things that are going on in the ocean, and so we are happy to talk about that in the most respectful way.
Yes, absolutely. Professor, I've always known that there's so much to learn from you from our previous engagements. But I must say that having recorded this podcast with you, I am more convinced that there's absolutely a lot that I'm going to learn from you. Walking this journey with you, there's just a lot that I'm going to learn, and I'm grateful for that. And I hope that our listeners as well will take a lot and will learn a lot from you. Without any waste of time, I just wanted to extend our gratitude, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself and the professor to our listeners to say
Yeah.
thank you so much. And we hope that this relationship will continue and be more engaging. And with that being said, we invite you guys to please do not forget to send us any questions, any suggestions, or inputs. We would love to hear from you. You can find us on Instagram and also on Facebook. We are Maritime Law Podcasts. So, from myself and from Portia, It was lovely, absolutely lovely engaging with you, and we can't wait for more episodes to come.
Yes.
So, Portia, we're going to say our favorite line as we are closing off, and we will say to the people,
Get on board
get on
and
board
tune in.
and tune in.
Thank you, Sharon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.